You received a call from an inmate at the Department of Corrections. This call will be recorded and monitored. If you wish to block any future calls of this nature, dial 7 now. To accept this call, press 5 now. To decline this call, hang up.
Well, hello there, Carol. How's it going? Oh, well, I'm doing just fine. Yeah, that is absolutely correct. I am working on a lawsuit against the Washington Department of Corrections. Yep, it's to benefit everybody. This is not one of those selfish things where I'm just out to get money or to get self glorification. I want to bring the issues that you guys are having to the public. And a courthouse is a great way to get that information out there. Yeah, I know there's a lot of people out there who just they don't have the opportunity to be heard. And advocates and supportive relationships, these are the people that can help you get the word out. Right. Yeah. And what you're doing with the social media is excellent. I highly compliment you. And I can't throw you enough praises for doing something like that because people need to know what goes on in there. They can watch TV shows and documentaries, but they don't know what it's like on a day by day basis. A lot of the stuff that we hear out here is to get viewers and to get ratings, and it doesn't really show the uh, the true nature of what you're going through. And one of the things I know is that you fight constantly. There's a lot of the stuff is boring that goes on in there, and that can also be shared because when I see some things on social media about ex-cons or people who are giving advice to people who are locked up, it deals with some of the things that are mundane, and that's stuff that the public needs to know about, especially with going through times of budget cuts. If we're dumping billions of dollars into prisons and people are still getting out and committing crimes and folks are being mistreated within the prison, we're not getting our money's worth. And so I think every government agency should give a report card to the public. There's times that we're paying taxes and we really don't know where the money's going. And I know now the federal government's purging agencies and trying to eliminate waste. We should do that on the state level too. And Washington is, for the most part, working on that. And I am very happy that that's going on. But don't exempt the Department of Corrections. That is a department that just constantly abuses people. And I personally have experienced them abusing their power, overstepping their boundaries, and putting restrictions on people that don't deserve it. There was a woman who flew hundreds of miles to
You
Washington
have 60 seconds remaining.
to visit her son, and the Department of Corrections gave her such a hard time. It broke her heart. That shouldn't be the case. The Department of Corrections should focus on supportive relationships, especially family and loved ones. Yeah, I'm glad you're able to get your stuff done efficiently when somebody applies to visit you. But see, they don't consider you a threat. Imagine somebody who's publishing
You have
negative
30
stuff
seconds remaining.
and a sister wants to go visit and running through all of this stuff, you're not qualified to visit because of blah, blah, blah. And it's always stuff that's made up. And free speech, that's a part of America. And a government department like the DOC, they're not exempt from that. Yes, good. Keep speaking out, but be careful. They do love to retaliate.
Thank you for using inmate call. Goodbye.
Hello, welcome to AQS Inmate Call. I am your host, Joel Wilborn. And in this episode, I want to discuss my personal interaction with the Washington Department of Correction. I've been trying for years to get answers from these people, and with the change of administration, with the new governor and the new secretary of the Department of Correction, I've been able to make some headway. And I'm going to take full advantage of this because this is something that has been an issue for me for quite some time. And to bring this issue out to the public, to get it resolved, is a humongous goal. And it's one of the things that I look forward to accomplishing, hopefully in the near future. Now, I met a woman in prison, and we hit it off pretty well. And we had a whirlwind romance. And so I proposed to her, she accepted. And they told her they didn't approve of her marrying me. And it could be because I'm a prison advocate, could be that they're just discriminating or they're just jealous. I don't know. I'm not going to speculate on something like that. Whatever the reason, they don't want me to get married. And with the United States Constitution, you don't have to ask for permission to get married. You can go down to the county clerk and apply for a marriage license. And there's certain qualifications. And as voters, we have a say in that. And most of them have been on the books for decades. And it deals with things like, if you're underage, or if you're not maybe something like you're married already. These things will disqualify you from getting a marriage. And if we oppose the restrictions, we could easily talk to our legislators and get some bill passed and change things around. And so, with that in mind, you know that if you want to marry somebody, there's basically nothing that's going to stop you. And being in prison isn't a reason to deny somebody a marriage. So if I tell the prison I want to marry her, it's their duty to set things up and pave the way. They cannot stand in the way of a marriage. And what bothers me about this one is they're telling her that they didn't want her to marry me. But she said, no, this is what I want to do. And so they suddenly blocked all communication. I sent her a Christmas card and it was returned and it just said unauthorized contact. There was no letter that told me why. It didn't give me a chance to appeal. There was no judgment from a court order. It was just somebody in the DOC decided, I don't want these two people to get married, and put a block on me. And I'm going round and around with emails and communications on them, but I don't see this working out any other way except through the court. Marriage can be denied when a person's in prison if the person, is unable to attend the ceremony, and that could be the person is in isolation, or maybe is in the hospital, or maybe they're going through a process of transferring out of state. There's things that could delay or impede the marriage. But a prison official cannot say you can't get married. But that restriction is only for the marriage ceremony because we want to go through the ceremony, get a member of the clergy in there and witnesses and sign the paperwork. The person who's on the outside is responsible for getting the marriage license, and we could go down to the clerk, ask for a license, and there could be something that holds it up there. So that's federal law, state law. I have no problem with that, and most people don't. But when a prison just blocks a person from communicating, I have a fiance that I want to talk to. I haven't been able to talk to her for months because they put a restriction on me. Why? Why would they put a restriction on me? That's the main goal. That alone I can go to court for. And they could come up with where we're going through the process of looking over the files for the marriage ceremony. But she's completely free and able to visit. She's not under any restrictions. So there's nothing in the policy that restricts her from marrying. The only thing that could stop her is if she says, I changed my mind, I don't want to do it. And a good way to influence her is to, in communication with me, and just tell her things. He's cheating on you. He's also talking to other women in the prison. He's he's broadcasting bad stuff about you. They could say all this stuff, fill her mind with it, and she could change her mind. And I wouldn't know anything because I'm not allowed to talk to her. I wouldn't be able to talk her out of it or ease her mind because I'm restricted. That's an interesting tactic. But when you're in love with somebody and you want to get married, there's not a lot that's going to stop you. And so that's the advantage that I have. I've got so many issues that are on my side. Let's put it that way. And I'm just determined to get this to go through. So that right there could possibly be its own little lawsuit. And the fact that they blocked me with no no reason. There was no rationale behind it. And state agencies are under the free speech. They can't deny me communicating with somebody because of my political views or my opinions or because they just don't like me at all. And it's for me, it's exciting because should I get into the court, I could ask these folks to prove their case. And I did ask them, why are you restricting me? And they came up with your permanently. Okay, this is not temporary or uh, conditional. This is a permanent restriction from talking to any of the people in the Washington Correction Center for Women, where my fiance happens to be. I'm restricted from talking to anybody in there forever. And you would have to think, what could a person do to get that kind of a restriction? They're claiming that I don't follow policy, which is classic for the DOC. And when I say that, I'm saying these guys have been known not to follow policy. Paula Gardner has terminal cancer because they did not follow policy. There's people that have committed suicide because they did not follow policy. And a man was murdered because the DOC did not follow policy. And I let them know that. I said, I want to go to court to show the world that you don't follow the rule of law and you don't follow your own policy. It's easy to prove that because when they're telling the judge we've restricted all his communication because he doesn't follow policy, of course, the next question is, what policy? What did he do? Did he threaten the life of somebody? Did he call in a bomb threat? Did he attack somebody? What did this person do that deemed him so dangerous he can't talk to any of the women down there? Whatever answer they give, they would have to prove to the court that they notified me. So they could say something like he sent a threatening email to inmate 12345, and then they would have to prove that I sent that email, like maybe showing a copy of the email with my name on it, and they would have to prove that they notified me. You sent this email. Here's a copy of the email. We're restricting you permanently. Uh, you need to comply. And if you want to appeal, this is how you appeal. That's a rejection letter, and it's required in their policy. If they can't produce that letter and can't produce any evidence that I did something like that, I win, just hands down. And I proved to the court that these people have been abusing their power and they've been lying, which is a crime. It's a misdemeanor, but it's a crime in the state of Washington for a state official to produce a false statement in an official document. That's what I'm looking forward to because they've said all kinds of things about me that I've been transferring funds, and they give different reasons each time I ask. So I feel very confident I can get that out. And it's a win-win situation for me because I go to court, broadcast this stuff, they have to prove something that they can't prove, and then we can get the court to order the Department of Corrections to do the right thing. Most people, they're not, let's say they're not millionaires, they're not independently wealthy. And so when they have an issue with the Department of Corrections, they'll voice their concern, they'll probably get an attorney, and then the Department of Corrections wants to do settle out of court and do a non-disclosure agreement. And so the problems that go on in there, we don't hear about it because the victims are under obligation to stay silent. And I mean, they could pay millions of dollars to keep them quiet. And these people are willing to stay quiet so they don't lose their money, don't have to pay it back. And that's respectable. But when I was working with Paula Gardner, I wanted her to go to court, but she was afraid she was going to die and not have that opportunity. So she was forced into settling. And it ruined my chance to get in there and get this information out to the public. So people don't really get to see the details. Fortunately, I was a part of this whole process and I was able to broadcast what I knew about it because I'm not under the non disclosure agreement. But if I bring a case, I can broadcast everything. And the public needs to know what their judicial system, what their penal system, and what their state officials are doing. And one thing I did notice about the DOC, and some of the inmates told me this, that it's more like a little clique, kind of like a little. They tend to watch each other's back, and so the director or secretary or even governor, we could complain to them, and they'll send a letter out to the officials. We got this complaint. Will you look into it and give us a reply? They can pretty much say anything they want. Oh, this person's doing this terrible thing, or we've dealt with this before. This person's a liar. All this stuff, and then send it back to the official that we complained to. Let's say the governor, and the governor sends out a letter. It's like, well, this is what we got, and they're very happy back at the DOC. We've covered this up with smoke and mirrors. We're good. Well, you got to understand that in a courtroom, that little luxury is gone. And so while we're going back and forth, and they're just lying to their top leadership, and their top leadership has no idea what's going on. And with them hiding it in the court system, the top leadership may know, but it was resolved, and so it's time to move on. One of the reasons I want to go to court is to get this out there. And hopefully I can do that. But in the meantime, I've got social media. And I've got the people that are willing to go through third parties. You know, sister will talk to brother who will talk to me. And in America, the government needs to understand that when there's injustice, people will fight. They'll use every available source they can. I'm not going to go out and burn down businesses. I'll use the justice system and just do a check on the justice system. How well does it work? Can I get this resolved? My main goal is to stop this. I would love to see some kind of oversight committee, but that's a whole different story. The first step is to expose it. Once the public finds out that this DOC was treating people like that and was caught, and was convicted, then it would be a lot easier to get legislation through Congress to create an oversight committee. And we're on our way to improving the livelihood of the citizens. If a person's miserable in prison, they're going to be miserable when they get out. But if we reduce the prison population and put people on home monitoring or community service or maybe supervised probation, that could help reduce recidivism. And we don't want people to go to prison and come out worse than they went in. And right now, that's what's happening. We got to keep an eye on this. And if me going to court is going to do that, I'm 100% for it. And I hope you guys stay tuned. Go to my YouTube channel, look up Oxyword, listen to inmates during an interview explain what's going on in the prison, and listen to some of the things they have to say on Facebook or X or Threads or any other outlet, social media outlet, and kind of weigh if you support that or not. Community safety, reduce crime. This all starts with knowing where it's coming from. And the people who commit the crime, they're very likely to recommit if we don't do anything. So once we find the person who commits the crime, let's work on fixing it. And we do that together. Thanks for tuning in. Hopefully you'll talk with your family, your loved ones, your neighbors, and work together, work as a team to make our community a safe place to grow up, work, for education, and to just live a happy life. Well, go out, have yourself a marvelous day, and make beautiful memories for tomorrow.